Hello, and welcome back to day two of the summer series. I actually, when thinking about what to say today, realised yesterday I didn't introduce myself for those that might never have met me in person or here. So I'm Matt Manners, and I'm the CEO and founder of the Inspiring Workplaces Group. So hopefully that rights yesterday's wrong. You're not here to see me anyway. You're here to see our great storytellers this week. And yesterday was arguably our strongest opening in the past 4 years, with sessions from Bruce Daisley and Deborah Corrie. And they're now both on demand on our content section, as will all our talks go there as we have them throughout the week. As I said yesterday, Inspiring Workplaces offers all this content for free. Our community's free, our events are free, as that's part of our mission to try and help you and us change the world through the world of work. So please go discover hundreds more videos that exist there. I did also promise that we'd say a little bit about our business throughout the week. And one bit of information is that we're also the world's #1 non-survey based awards recognizing people first organizations, and that awards program now operates right across the world, and we're open for entries in 2025. So if you're running a great place to work, then please go check out that awards program. It might just suit you. Without further ado, let's get on to our second storyteller, and storyteller probably being the perfect description for them, as you're about to find out. It's a genuine thrill to be focusing on this topic, as I believe it's a vital skill in work and in life. And the title of their talk is Storytelling, a Workplace Superpower. And I think that'll probably blend in nicely with what Kathy's just been talking about. So please welcome to the summer series, best-selling author Jamie Mackenzie.
Hey, how you doing? Hey Matt, how you doing?
Very well, thank you very much. Very well. Really looking forward to hearing what you've got to share and speaking to you afterwards.
Absolutely, it's lovely to follow Kathy, actually, especially with her emphasis on people. You know, the human connection, communication. Yeah. Your emphasis on AI there as well. You know, humans are timeless. Technology changes, so I think there's a lot in there to reflect on for sure, Matt.
I think we just have the soundbite for your talk.
Anyway, I'll make sure I patent that one. That's no problem.
I'll leave you to it, but have fun.
Thank you, Matt, and hello everybody. You know, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or if you're watching on another day on the repeat, hello, whatever time that may be. And thank you ever so much for the opportunity to talk and to share about my talk, which is all around the importance of storytelling with impact. So I'll just, there we go. I'm presenting now. Excellent. The technicalities are finished there. Excellent stuff. All about virtual working, isn't it? I think Kathy was saying. So thanks for the wonderful introduction. And yes, I am a best-selling author. I'll come on to that a bit later on. But I am truly passionate about the importance of storytelling, not just in the workplace, as Matt mentioned, but also in life as well. In fact, as me, I'm on a personal mission to improve the impact and life-changing nature of lives for all ages through the power of storytelling. It's been a huge part of my life so far, my career, which I'll explore with you in a second. And it's not always the topic that you're talking about, certainly in the office and the workplace, telling stories. Sometimes it's reserved for those big moments like movies or story time with the children at the end of the day, or indeed other musical moments, theatre. But actually storytelling is a process and a methodology to level up and impact communication. So we'll explore that in a lot more detail. But, you know, storytelling has been with us since the dawn of time. And it is a timeless technique. And going back to the Neanderthal era, 65,000 years ago, there's the earliest recording of storytelling, which is actually a cave painting called the Red Hand painting, found in a cave, which was created 65,000 years ago. And that's the earliest record of picturizing a story, a moment, whether it be for a learning experience, whether it be for communication, but it's the first time. And since then, and through all of time, storytelling has always been present. Now, if you were to go back to when you were first born, you probably wouldn't remember it. I certainly, well, my mum remembers my birth, certainly, but I don't. In that moment, as soon as you're born, another human being will start communicating with you. And typically, they will start telling you a story. And so from the presence of my birth, my parents shared who they were, what they were about, who my family were, and more so that they loved me. As soon as I was born into the world, storytelling was with me. And ever since then, through the childhood years into your young adult and adult years, storytelling has been present in all of our lives. So with something so present, something so habitual in what we do, we all desire stories. We crave them to be shared with us, but equally we also crave to share them as well, because storytelling has a certain impact that is incredibly important to influence and to shape our decisions as human beings and inspire memories too. But if you can use storytelling, so considering that we have this superpower, as I like to call it, that connects over 8 billion people around the world, regardless of culture, regardless of race, gender, regardless of language, storytelling is in the lives of 8 billion people from birth. If you can harness that superpower, then you have the ability to make an incredibly positive impact to people's lives, to change them through the power of storytelling and through the power of impactful communication. Yet, it is a superpower and a skill that is so underutilized, underrated, and under-discussed in the workplace, and to be honest, beyond as well. Now, I've always recognized the importance of storytelling, and I'll share a story a bit later on about Brussels sprouts as to why. But certainly through my career over the last 20 years, storytelling has played a significant part. So I've been very lucky over the last 20 years to work for 3 big brands, incredible companies. So Toshiba, I spent 6 years there, the majority of which is their head of product management for the UK. I then moved to Samsung and spent a good 5 years in Samsung, heading up their B2B marketing in the UK and Ireland. And then I moved on to Sodexo, a facilities management people management and engagement company as well. And I spent just under 10 years on their board as their CMO for the UK and Ireland. And in those 20 years, covering commercial marketing strategy-based roles, in that time, storytelling played a significant role in what I did. But equally, not just functionally or technically, I was also very fortunate in that time to spend 19 years of those 20 in leadership positions. So whether it be leading a student of 1 at my early days at Toshiba, all the way through to a team of 50 marketeers in my time at Sodexo, and then virtual projects with hundreds of people across different continents. So again, going back to Kathy's point about the importance of virtual intelligence, it is key. But I've had that exposure to people engagement and leadership experiences. And again, through that entire time, storytelling has played a huge part of what I've done. Now, I've been very, very lucky in that time to have achieved many things, which I'm personally really proud of. You know, huge growth within Sodexo, working with central government to create products during COVID to support the management and monitoring of the behavior of the virus during that period of time. I've also been very lucky to have been involved in and led a merger and acquisition and cultural transition and business transition post that. But equally, I have failed a lot. You know, I've made some terrible decisions. I have upset people and I have lost money for business units within these brands. So I've enjoyed achievement and success, but equally I've I've learned from failure. And that's really important, so important. But the one consistent thing that flows through all of that has been storytelling. Storytelling has allowed me to achieve and succeed, but also storytelling has allowed me to fail and learn as well. But through my 20 years and these experiences within these organizations, there's a currency There's a currency that's floating around every single day, which drives these businesses that I've experienced. And this currency is a currency which I see across every single organization, including the ones that you work in as well. So if you just take a look here, there's a number of words on the slide, and I hope that some of them look familiar to you, because that currency in business is what I believe is the untold story of business. It's not the thing that everybody always talks about, which typically is about money, the end result of a business's performance. But typically, when you take a bird's eye view of a business, I see it broken down into these three areas. You've got the metrics that everyone is challenged on pretty much every single day. So you've got a ton of different stuff in there, and there'll be no doubt new metrics that you'll be thinking about as you look at this. But anything from share price to revenue, profit, through to number of customers, retention rate, net development. These are the metrics that your business is measured on. That's ultimately the outcome. But luckily, we've got some people engagement metrics in there, such as employee engagement, employee happiness, and ENPS. That's how the business is measured. The measurements are driven by the behavior of the stakeholders and the actions and initiatives that your business takes with them. So let me give you an example. We take one of I think our most important stakeholder in business, which are the employees. And our employees, we can engage with through company events, town hall meetings, L&D moments, one-to-one sessions, different projects that they can work on to enrich their enjoyment in the workplace. The outcome of those activities with the stakeholder is the metric, which is employee engagement and employee happiness, in ENPS, for example. So these activities and scenarios with the stakeholders drive the metrics. Now, the currency that no one talks about, but that happens so many times every single day, is this. And that is the communication and interaction between people. If you think about it, a town hall meeting is a communication and interaction between human beings. You know, the development of employer value proposition, I've got put Matt's teeth back in as well. Employer value proposition is the communication between people. And even revenue as a metric is driven by customers buying products, supported by marketing and product and salespeople and everyone that makes the engine work. That is the communication between people. So the communication between people, I believe, is the most important currency in business, whether that be physically, virtually, hybridly, digitally, whatever you want to use. The communication between people is the currency in business. And the pathway to impactful communication, because if you can drive impactful communication, you can drive better activities and scenarios, better reactions from stakeholders, and then ultimately better metrics for the business. That pathway is storytelling. Storytelling truly is the epicenter and the heart of impactful communication. So if you can level up your storytelling capability, not just as an individual, as a team, as a culture, think about those millions of communication moments that are happening within your business every single week, between your teams, your external stakeholders, all the different activities that are happening. Each one of those, you have an opportunity to improve the impact of, which will ultimately lead to an improved business metric. So storytelling is, I believe, the untold story in business. But it's a story that I personally have been aware of for a very long time. And it's a story, as you can probably tell, I'm extremely passionate about. But you might be asking the question, okay, Jamie, that makes complete sense. Why Brussels sprouts? What have Brussels sprouts got to do with the art of storytelling, the untold story in business, and a broader impact on communication? So to answer that question, you hypothetically might be asking me now, is let me tell you a story about Brussels sprouts. In fact, let me tell you how Brussels sprouts impacted my life from the start of my working career. I was during my placement year at Toshiba, at university, and I was asked to apply for a role at Toshiba. Now, at the time, I thought it was the Japanese car manufacturing firm, but when I turned up, clearly it wasn't. Clearly, it was not a car manufacturing firm. But I turned up and I had the interview at Toshiba. And I sat down and I was interviewed by two amazing guys, Jeremy and Steve. And they asked me a question: Jamie, what are you most proud of? What's your biggest achievement? Now, at the time, I was about 20 years old, and I'd only really had two jobs in my life. The first was as a paper boy, and then the second one was working in a greengrocer's. So I decided to share the story about my time at the greengrocer's, where on Christmas Eve, we had the busiest day you could ever imagine. But on that particular day, I sold 28 bags of sprouts. Now, it wasn't through clever marketing techniques or sales approaches. It was just a genuine supply-demand scenario where it's a seasonal peak. Everybody was after that lovable vegetable, for some, not so much for others, sprouts. And they were literally flying off the shelves. So at the end of the day, I checked the bin outside because I was desperate to understand how many we sold. And sure enough, we sold 28 bags, which is around about 10,000 individual sprouts, if you're interested. I then said to my boss, is this a record? He said, Jamie, I have no idea. I've never documented, but it probably is up there. So I shared this story in my interview at Toshiba. Now, skip forward, I got offered the role and I went into the business on day one, sat down with my two new bosses, and they said, congratulations. And I asked them for feedback, what was it? And they said, Jamie, it's the story that you told about 28 bags of sprouts that got you the job. It's not necessarily the sales and marketing and the engagement parts that you also shared in the story. That story stood you out. It made you different. It landed with us right here in our heart. And we thought to ourselves, we really want to work with that individual. So that story, I'm not saying is that got me to here today in what I'm doing today, but if I hadn't have told that story, I wouldn't have taken the path that I've taken on to today, which I'm incredibly grateful for. So storytelling and sprouts have always been a big part of my life. And it's always reminded me on the importance of storytelling, but more so the impact that it can make on other people if you can get your storytelling right. So inspired by this story and skipping forward to October 2023, I took the decision to step away from the corporate world, certainly working within the corporate world or working for the corporate world, and write a book. Write a book about something that I'm incredibly passionate about. And that book is this one here. You can see it, full of sprouts. It's called 28 Bags of Sprouts, Storytelling with Impact. And my passion, my mission to make a positive impact and change people's lives of all ages through the power of storytelling is what drove me to create this book. So launched in March of this year, it was Amazon's #1 hottest new release, which was amazing. And it became a top 5 bestseller within the first month within its main category, which is business communication. And considering the company it keeps, is pretty awesome. I've never written or edited or published a book before. But certainly with this one, I was really keen to ensure I could give my best quality possible to it. But the book is all about how to create impactful storytelling. And funnily enough, sprouts are heavily involved in this book because within the book, you have stories from myself, but you also have stories from 6 experts who have contributed to allow me to bring different experiences, perspectives, and viewpoints to impactful storytelling. And within the book, we have a model called the Sprout model, which is a model I'd like to talk to you about in a second. But what I found with storytelling within the workplace is that it has the most profound and positive impact you can have. I have worked with some of the best leaders that I've ever worked with or even partnered with. And the greatest communicators and storytellers are the ones that can transform company and people performance. Equally, I have also worked with terrible leaders who communicate and storytell poorly. And the net result of that is business underperformance and people destruction, as I like to call it, which is the destruction of a person's character and their engagement levels and their ability to perform, not through capability, but through poor communication and poor storytelling. So the gap of storytelling in the workplace, both myself and the experts in the book believe is significant. But the good news is is that there's great opportunity to close the gap. And the book is designed to do that. So introducing 28 Bags of Sprouts and the Sprout model. It is available paperback, ebook. And if you do want to listen to my voice for 5.5 hours, it's also available in audiobook as well. But the book itself includes the Sprout model. Now, if there's one slide out of this whole deck, apart from the previous one, that you want to screenshot and take now, it's this one, because this is the Sprout model. This is the storytelling structure that I've created based on, of course, a Brussels sprout, which you can apply to any communication scenario as long as it involves people. So going back to the slide that I showed earlier, which is about all the different activities and initiatives that surround your business with stakeholders who are people at the moment, you can apply this to any one of those. And what it does, it takes that communication and it runs it through a storytelling methodology that I have adopted to be applicable for all communication. The end result is that your communication will improve. The impact of your communication will improve. Why? Because what you've done through working through this is you've tapped into the principles of storytelling, the principles which have been with us since birth, the principles which drive us, the principles that we crave. Now, it's very easy to get complacent and lazy with communication because we do it all the time and it's become a hygiene, but actually the gold is in the communication between people. So if you can lift it through storytelling, you will achieve a greater outcome. So I'll just spend 5 minutes now just working through the model, just to give you a little bit of an explanation, because this is about the pragmatic, what can I do to improve my storytelling? So you would take your communication scenario and you would run it through these 6 layers. So to summarize it for you, the first thing that you would do, so if you can imagine yourself communicating a new strategy to a board, you're presenting in a town hall meeting, you've got a one-to-one meeting for a performance appraisal, you're going for a promotion, you're asking for a pay rise. In that communication moment, the first thing you've got to ask yourself is this: what is the impact that I want to make? And typically, the impact can range anything from I want to educate someone through to I want to persuade them, or I want to even inspire them. So there are 6 impacts that I've identified in the book, ranging from education all the way through to inspiration. Knowing that at the start of your communication is key. Why? Because the tone, the positioning, and the content of your communication from that point onwards will change completely. If you want to inspire someone, it's very different than if you want to educate someone, and how you deliver that will also change as well. The second area is people. Now, we always talk about knowing your audience, right, when it comes to communication, and that is super important. Having an understanding of the diversity of your audience is really key, but also remembering that every single person on this planet is an individual as well. But in my model, it's not just about that. It's not just about segmenting them into who they are. It's asking yourself the question, how do you want to make them feel? By eliciting emotions, by eliciting, I'll say it, hormones, that also gives you the ability to communicate with greater impact. But also within the people layer, it's also about asking yourself that you need to be you. Being you is one of the most powerful ingredients that you can incorporate into your communication style. Because if you're authentic, if you demonstrate vulnerability, and you are relatable to your audience, then you can create a much faster connection and you can have a much greater impact. Now, interestingly enough, for that part, the being you, very difficult in business, especially if you're a senior leader, right? Or you're a CEO or a CPO, you're sitting on the board, senior leader. I can't demonstrate weakness. I can't show any vulnerability to my team because I'm supposed to know the answers. Arguably, that's one of the worst things that you can do. Be yourself, be honest, build trust, and the engagement and communication benefit will come from that. So after you've identified your impact and you've seen the people and how you want to make them feel as human beings, you then move into a traditional storytelling structure of start point, main event, and end point. Now, this has been around since the dawn of time, so I'm not going to challenge the storytelling structure, But there are certain ingredients within each of these layers that you can challenge yourself with in order to improve the impact of your communication. Within start point, for example, think about the direction you want to take your communication. You know, how many times do you actually sit down and plot that through before you do it, especially some of the bigger communication moments. Similarly, in start point, context. It's really important. One of the biggest failings I had during my career is that when I was pitching for investment, pitching for budget, or pitching a new project or idea, I would assume that my hierarchy above me in the corporate world had the same level of knowledge as me. They don't. They know less because you're in it and they're not. So bringing context can really help to get that decision making and get people's thoughts there much faster than if you hadn't. So you set the scene really with the start point, and then you come into the main event. And this is the crux of your communication. It's kind of the typically opportunity or challenge that you're facing or faced and how you're addressing it. And you address all of that within your main event. And then you move on to your end point. And your end point really is about clarity and conclusion, but also for certainly some of the bigger communication moments, like a town hall when you don't see people afterwards, is something called the lasting impression. And this is what people think about of what you've just said or communicated post-event. Not enough people, not enough leaders think about the lasting impression. Very, very important. And then the sixth and final layer that, not through fluke, but by design, surrounds the whole sprout is nurture. And these are the types of things and ingredients that you will put in to make your communication engaging and relevant for the audience. So things like creativity, energy, perspective, all really important elements, data, all the things that you need to really enrich and nurture your communication to give it the best possible impact that it can make. So these are the 6 layers, and as you work through them in the model, in the book, and as you work through them in the day-to-day communication, it will start to become subconscious, and already you will start to think about every communication that you do and run it through this particular model. So the book itself and the model isn't just used by everyday people like me. We do have a celebrity backer as well in Ryland Clark. For those that don't know, Ryland Clark is quite a popular entertainment media personality in the UK, and I think to an extent globally as well. But, you know, it just shows that anyone and everyone can use and learn from storytelling. And Ryland and I met, and Ryland was absolutely amazing. I signed a copy for him of my book, which was mental. But he's taken that away, and he messaged me, and he's using the principles to help enrich his areas as well. So storytelling isn't just about your day-to-day at home. It's not just about the workplace, but it's also about the big public viewing events as well. Storytelling really is for absolutely everybody. It's just about the confidence of the structure and applying it as well. So with a couple of minutes left, just to kind of leave you with 3 key takeaways from this, which I hope you've enjoyed. Number 1, please view every moment, a communication moment, as a storytelling opportunity. Any communication you can apply through a storytelling methodology, and you can improve the impact on other human beings and hopefully get the desired impact that you want, or give yourself a much better chance of achieving it. The second piece of advice is always apply a structure. There are loads of structures out there. Of course, I'd love you to buy the book and use the Sprout model, because I believe it's a structure that's, one, it's unique, but also it's applicable to all communication and can really level that up for you in any scenario. And the final point is that please practice storytelling. It's absolutely free. You don't need a subscription. You don't need gym equipment. You don't need to do it at certain times of day, when the kids have gone to bed or when people aren't around. Any time that you're communicating with another person, which for all of us on average is 80% of our waking day, you can practice storytelling. 1 element, 2 elements, all 6 elements, doesn't matter. Practice it, try, fail, smile, because that's important, and learn. And eventually you will see the direct impact of increasing the impact of your communication through the power of storytelling. So that's it from me. Just over 25 minutes. So I think I'm just about on brief, Matt. But thanks everybody for listening. I really appreciate it. And just a couple of, special for this call, a couple of previews of 3 other books I have coming out later in the year, along with my storytelling and business coaching that I do as well. But I passionately believe in the power of storytelling for all ages. So this version, 28 Bags of Sprouts, will be also available age appropriate for ages 4 to 8 and 8 to 12. And I'm working with schools and education trusts and kids to create these. And also I have a book launching in January next year, which is called Sprouting Happiness, which is all about my personal journey over the last 12 months and the model that I've used to level up my happiness, to make it a priority and make happiness my habit as well, all through sprouting. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you so much. Scribbling incessantly throughout that talk there. I'm just wondering if the 4 to 8-year-old book would be good for me.
It's good for me, man. I enjoyed writing it.
You know, because it's you forget. Well, I forget. I used to write stories as a child constantly. That's all I did. Like, that's probably the main thing I did outside of just playing was writing stories, and it's something that I left behind at probably like 10 or 11 or whatever it might be. But it's such an important part of business and life. And I'm really, really grateful for you simplifying the structure there to try and, you know, make sense of it, because one of the hardest things in the world, in my opinion, is the blank piece of paper.
Yeah.
Being faced with that, and you know the story you want to tell.
Yeah.
So my one question for you I have is, so many people on this call who we talk to are constantly trying to get buy-in from leadership to try and even fail, like you say, and hopefully have permission to fail often and succeed. But what's one of the best ways of, outside of the structure you've just shown us, like how have you got buy-in over the years successfully from leadership to invest in an idea, to invest in trying something different to positively impact the business? After you.
No, I got so I think, I know you said to not say it, but I'm going to say it, and then I'll quickly move on. Structure. Honestly, it's the one thing, and what you'll find, and with anybody, you've got it in here, you've got it in your head, and you can even visualize the outcome, and you know how to manifest that. The challenge is, for many people, how do you deliver that in a way that it resonates with the audience and gives you the best chance for a decision? For me, number one, it's always about structure. It's always about the structure of information. I know some people who, brilliant entrepreneurs, who have gone to angel investors, but they are so incredibly technical that when they sit down with them, they give them all the details. And by the way, the details are amazing, but that's not how the angel investors want to hear it. They will happily hear the same context, but it needs to be presented in a different way. So it's the same content and it's the same impact and outcome, but you're presenting it differently. Structure will give you the self-coaching that you need. So I will say the Sprout model one more time, but it will give you the self-coaching you need to put it in the best possible place to then deliver it in the way that you want to. Yeah. But parking that aside, the other thing is that I strongly believe that for many people, when you go into a boardroom, or you go to investors, or you go to perceived senior financial institutes, or anyone where you need something, you have to go all formal and you have to go all numbers. Now, that's important, and it's an important part of the story. But what you need to do is to go as a human being. So in everything that I did, and I've engaged with many stakeholders, not once have I not been Jamie Mackenzie. Every single time I've been Jamie Mackenzie. So I've always kept my human, natural style, whatever the role I'm in and whatever the content or topic I'm talking about. So being you, for me, is the absolute key thing. To then have structure that gives you the content in the right way for you then to deliver it, that will also give you the confidence, and actually more of you will come out in that respect. So being you, and remembering that they are human beings on the other side at the moment, not AI that are making those decisions. But while there's human beings involved, use the emotion, use the connection, use that side of it, as well as the data to support the story. Not the data's not the story. The data's there to support the story. And I think if you can tap into that more so, that's what I found has always worked. But, it's not a magical formula. I'm not saying, use the Sprout model, you're going to get a ton of money every time, or you're going to get the structure you want or organization, but it gives you the best chance to get the impact, to make the impact that you want. So that's probably my best way to answer you there.
No, fantastic. And made me think that these people that you're presenting to or pitching for investment, they're already investing in you. So being you, and they're already making that investment in you. So which, so speaking of personal experiences, sometimes you forget.
And certainly depending on those watching, whether you're in a B2B or a B2C environment, but typically B2B or people orientated environment, the flesh and blood is that's what people are. They're building off your aura. That's where the relationships are forming. But structuring your communication appropriately will give you a much better result for sure.
Well, fantastic. I really appreciate everything all the knowledge you've imparted on us. And I again, like Kathy's, I'm going to be watching this back. So much in there. I'm already thinking I might have to reschedule my session at the end of the week because I want to imply your structure to my story that I've started to craft. So watch this space.
You're very welcome. And the book's available on Amazon, by the way, so anyone that wants to kind of explore it and the ideas that I have. But thanks for the opportunity, Matt. And I wish everybody, and remember, stories change lives. I'd love the audience to remember that because they really do. They really do.
They do. They 100% do. So thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you,
and we'll speak soon. Thank you. Wow. You could tell that I was just resting on my my notepad there, scribbling. As my hair's gone a bit crazy. But thank you so much to Kathy and Jamie. A lot to unpack there across storytelling, building trust, human relationships, respect, all very relevant in the ever-evolving workplace that we find ourselves in. And it's funny, not that we design it this way, but great businesses keep coming back to putting their people first and how you interact with people on the human level. And I think that's where the competitive advantage does lie. So really appreciate these talks. And we'll be sharing them on demand. Please look up Kathy H&H and Jamie on LinkedIn too, because I know they're there. And we'll be back for day 3 tomorrow with 2 totally different stories and storytellers for you to give new perspective to other elements of the workplace. So thanks for now. Speak soon.